Hello everyone, this is Jim Starkweather, the publisher of KitMaker Network and Model Shipwrights. We've got a kind of a special cracking the box today for you. This is a nostalgic look back at a re-release of a kit from Revell that was originally put out by Renewal Blue Print Models. Many of us, probably older modelers, have built this kit when we were kids. I certainly did. It's the U.S.S. George Washington SSBN-598 in 1/200 scale. It has a full interior. It is not. It can be, I think, designed either way in terms of the whether you want to show off the interior or not. But it is definitely a 50s, 60s era plastic model. This model has not been updated in any way, as far as I can tell. It is basically a re-release, pure and simple, of the original cast, molding, and so forth of the original kit. So our thanks to Revell, USA, for sending us this sample. And we're just going to do a quick nostalgic look back, or you may want to think about buying this kit for maybe a young person that you know that's interested in modeling. It certainly still would be a good starter model for most young people or even new modelers these days. Well, let's go ahead and crack it open and see what we can see here. So right off the bat, you can see there's one big giant bag of plastic. There are, on the bottom here, the decal and the sheet are quite separated. I kind of scolded Italeri for putting their decals on the top of the box, so I'll go ahead and scold Revell as well, because what's the point of having this if it's just going to come right off? In the old days, they actually used to put a little piece of tape maybe on two sides so that these pieces didn't move around. But now it's almost like they're adding these just for the tradition of it, and with not really worrying about whether they stay on the decal sheet or not. So it's kind of worthless why add it when it's one here and here. So again, maybe our friends at Revell will see this and kind of go, oh yeah, that doesn't make sense. Because certainly when I open a box and I see that, it's kind of like, what, why bother? Just stick the decals in by themselves. All right, let's just quickly take a look at the instructions here. This model is recommended for ages, well, actually they do a skill level, so this is skill level 3. Now I'm not quite sure how they do their ratings of their skill levels, because that seems like, that must be the beginner level, I would assume, right? That would have to be. Because this model, I built this one, I was just, 10 or something, I think I want to say. There is a paint guide on here. The manual appears to be in English, French, and Spanish, I think. Yes. So for North American, obviously, languages, and maybe some Central and South American too. So other than the Portuguese, sorry, you guys got left out. So anyways, there's just basic breakdown. They go obviously through the various steps here. Lots of rooms included with this. So there's various the missile rooms and the conning tower and the control room. I'm trying to remember all my subterms for room names, but then yeah, the little decal sheet on the end. So let's go ahead and open up the plastic though and take a look to see what you can expect from a now probably close to 50-year-old model. Actually, definitely a 50-year-old model. What am I thinking? I'm almost 50, and I was born in 1965. So this one, I believe, dates slightly older than that. I want to say like 60 or 59, or when was this sub even released? Okay, so there's actually a bag within a bag here, and this is just going to make one giant mess, isn't it? And it's kind of hooking itself on various places. Wow. All right. Well, it's one of those kits where, yeah, it's going to come out. You're not going to have to clip a lot because a lot of this plastic is just falling right off the trees. Wow. But I can certainly remember doing models like this where this is what you started with. It was like a puzzle. It's like a big giant puzzle. All right, so I'm going to actually try to do this so you can see a little bit better contrasty wise down here. So yeah, there's obviously some plastic. We're going to cut off the sprues. You can see the interior is there with molded detail. It has various power and conduit lines and things like that. The plastic, actually, the quality of the plastic looks good. It looks better than probably what I would have expected back then. It's very kind of has a nice sheen to it, very, very clean. There are some sink marks in various places, but nothing that that wouldn't be easy to fix or fill. This is the other piece that this one This one was not connected to. I'm not sure how maybe that piece was always loose, but this is obviously off the original tree. And so you have the other side. It's interesting. And this is the side that's going to fit on to cover it up. And it actually says that this was made in Poland. So I guess they're being cast in Poland now. Interesting. Pretty sure they weren't cast there originally. I mean, probably cast in the USA. So there's various pieces here. The base, as well as the top missile deck opening. You can see, like, from the missile deck opening, it's very, very basic detail. It's just some lines, essentially. So, and here's part of the front cone of and the rear tail. Is what there was another second piece on that piece I just showed you, the rear tail. And then you get sprues like this one, which have all the missile tubes and various other little detail. And there will be some photos at the end of this, by the way, just to kind of show you some of these parts all kind of in total. And again, kind of an odd sprue tree here. This little fin stabilizer is trying to fall off, or downward bow. Is that a bow stabilizer? Sorry, my subterms aren't that good. They're just about as good as my aircraft terms. But I have built this kit, actually. It was many, many moons ago, obviously. Lots of torpedoes. Many, many torpedoes to put in the torpedo room. Many, many missile tubes. I remember when I painted this kit, because you can see the interior. Here's the rest of the base. Now, in terms of flash, I'm seeing a little bit of flash, like on this piece right here. You can see there, right? But it's not too bad, actually. There really isn't as much flash as back in the old days. I think so. They have improved maybe the process of doing these from back then. So you see a little bit of flash, but not an exorbitant amount. So, and there's some of the various little pieces that obviously fell off some of the sprue pieces and so forth here. There's a little bit of flash there again. Stuff. This is the kind of stuff that you're gonna have to clean up, or your child or whoever potentially is working on this. Come on, camera. You can do it. There you go. You see what I'm talking about there with that little flash bit. And I'm not sure what this little thing I'm trying to get over here is. Oh, it is. There we go. Bagged light gray hull with missile assembly made in Poland. So the Polish manufacturers, obviously we know several of them for armor, but they obviously are doing some outsourcing jobs to them as well for these types of older kits. Well, I hope you enjoyed the photos of the USS George Washington. It was a nice little trip back through time. And again, the thing about this kit is the interior, because you really get an interesting look here at the interior of a sub. I'm not sure how accurate this is in any way, because I was always curious as a kid whether it actually had. I mean, we always saw these World War II movies, right, of really tight, cramped sub rooms, with barely any space overhead to kind of walk, and these rooms look gigantic and spacious, and they just have all this headroom and stuff. So I can't imagine it's quite this nice on a U.S. nuclear submarine. Although I know we don't make them like this anymore. So again, it could just be more a situation where there was a hell of a lot more what's the technical word for the hull? But there's probably a lot of hull density essentially, so that cut down. They're not showing that in this mock-up, obviously, and I'm assuming that hull density probably cut down on a lot of the potential space that they ended up with in the model. But feel free to comment and to point out anything I might have missed or information about this. I'd be very curious if there's anybody who even maybe potentially served on this when it was in service. Which let me see here. It says the U.S.S. George Washington was the first in a new class of submarines with an intermediate range ballistic missiles. This, however, was not the original plan. For the submarine. In the middle of its construction, a 130-foot long section was added to contain launch tubes for 16 Polaris missiles. Each missile had a range of 1,500 miles. The George Washington was launched on June of 1959. The George Washington was nuclear powered and could stay submerged almost indefinitely. In all, it made 55 different missions in both Atlantic and Pacific Oceans over a 25-year period. In accordance with SALT I treaty, her ballistic missiles were unloaded in 1983, and then in June 1985, the George Washington was decommissioned. Wow, it served a long time. 36 years? 36 years. That's amazing. So, anyways, hope you enjoyed this review, or this little video preview of a very old kit that I'm sure a lot of us are familiar with that have been around modeling for a while anyways. I love this wood detail, by the way. And if you have any comments or suggestions, again, please leave them below, and hope you enjoyed.